Good morning. Hand today is going to be Ace King. We're going to do things a little bit different, but we are going to take a look at GTO. So I have Ace King early position. This is basically a standard raise. I've been 16th hand at the table. This looks like the first hand that I've played. I get two callers, including a tight caller. So when I see this over 16 hands, I kind of think, well, they're probably playing a little bit tight. Don't have a huge number of hands, but again, 13%. They've at least had two hands, maybe a hand, two hands that they could have played. This guy's playing 25-15. We've got some notes on him. We've got almost 1,000 hands. We've got called from button, from small blinds, from big blind. He's got some calls. Looks like he's going to probably be playing or calling here with pocket pairs. His 3-bet range is queens plus ace queen suited ace king. That kind of narrows it down a bit. So you've got basically pocket pairs, some broadways, probably suited aces as well, maybe some offsuit Broadway. So I put a range like this. This gets us to 17.5%. Looking at his VPIP from cutoff, that's 25%. That's how much he plays. It's raised for sins 35%, so he does attack, looks like, with some steals. But in the cutoff, he only calls 2 bets about 11% of the time, so he's actually playing fairly tight. I'm going to leave this here as this range. Maybe he doesn't play these. Maybe it narrows it down. And we can go ahead and fix it later on. But we're going to keep this range going forward. So 17.5%. Actually, no, I take that back. We're just going to go ahead and drop it. It's 11%. Probably not going to be calling all of those. Do I include Jack 9? No, we'll do that. That's 14%. I think that looks a whole lot better. So we're going to go with this range here. The next guy, 16 hands, I'm going to say he's out of position. We're going to give him the pocket pairs. I think that's pretty standard, at least what I see is some of the suited broadways. We're going to leave out king 10 and queen 10 since we already have a caller. And I'm going to assume he's going to 3-bet aces and kings. And I scaled ace, king, and queens is only raising or 3-betting 50% of the time. Now, I didn't build my range. Instead, I put it in the dead cards because I want to see how this actual hand performs against the range and kind of take out blockers and so forth. But then for GTO, we'll include my full range. So flop comes out, king, king 8, hits us hard. Just go ahead and oops, that was a mistake. Ace club, king spades. King, king, 8 with the heart. 8 with a heart. So this guy checks, no big surprise. I kind of assume he's going to check, and then now it's on us. What do we bet? Should we be betting? And I think it just kind of comes down to what our villain's going to call with. This obviously hits my range, but with 2 kings out, it really decreases the number of combinations of kings that I'm going to have. So right now, the hand is looking like it's... let's see here. Where is my hand? Equity. Well, we'll see. I know it's going to show, and probably it's going to show when we get heads up, because that's eventually what's going to happen. So I do think we're going to be betting this. I think there's going to be hands that we don't bet. Definitely not having the ace of hearts makes it more likely that somebody's going to have the nut flush and we'll be drawing. So I think if we have the ace of hearts, we're going to probably end up checking those more frequently than checking a hand like this, where I don't have any sort of flush draw. I don't have any blockers to the flush draw. So I bet And I think a decent size could be going small to try to encourage a lot of loose calls, so 33%. And we get a call here. With this player calling, I think we're getting called probably by our flush draws. Probably not by the 2-card backdoor flush draws. I think any of these pairs might be calling at least once. So pocket pair, below the boards, middle pair, pocket pair. I think these are all going to be calling. Of course, full house is going to call. 3 of kinds probably going to raise, but you can see that it's actually pretty low. So we can say maybe only 33% chance at actually going to call here, and we assume 66 he's going to raise. I think full house definitely just calls behind. So we're going to set up him as calling that. This guy is going to fold, so we're going to get him out, and he could easily have like a low pocket pair at this point. So we have dead cards here. Oh, there it is. So yeah, we have our dead cards. So we're looking at this spot. So he is looking at 55.1% continues. Turn comes out 2 hearts. That does not look good for me because now at this point out of his range, he's got, basically 15-16% with the flush. What I don't want to do is bet here, get raised, and then kind of be forced to call. I think this is going to be a good spot where we can check. And we're going to be checking a lot of our hands, including full houses. So including if we had pocket 8s, we would check here and probably go for a check raise. Pocket 2, probably check raise. We had already checked if we had the ace of hearts. So if we went check, check, this is going to be a good spot for us to bet. Because if he raises us, we have not only flush draw, but we would have our 3 of a kind basically draw to the boat. So I think here could be a good time to check behind. And he bets, so he bets actually fairly large. That kind of argues more towards a flush, not a flush draw, that he probably has a flush that he's betting. Probably not a full house. I think that's too large of sizing, betting 2/3. I think he's going to go smaller with those. Let's just exclude these all of the full houses. I think the flush is going to be betting to try to eliminate, prevent draws. I think 3 of a kind is going to probably bet in this case to try to eliminate draws. Pocket pair less than the top cards, probably just going to check. So I think what we've done is narrowed it down to where, almost 60%, over 50% of the hands will be a flush at this point. Do we continue? I do think we must, because there is 3 of a kind potential out there. Small percentage. We need 30% equity here. Do we have it? Probably not. Maybe. That would argue that we shouldn't call. So, with the ace king, it makes it less likely that he actually has a king. So it's more likely for a flush, probably. I did call here. Ace comes out, and that I think is actually pretty good for us. Now what do? We've got basically twice the size of the pot. I bet here. I basically shoved. Because my thought was, I'm playing the ace. I could have the ace king, but again, 2 kings are out. An ace is now out, making it less likely I have those. I could have easily had the nut flush draw. I think that's what we're concerned with. But since I don't, maybe he has it. Maybe he has a nut flush, and he does have a lot of nut flushes. So I think the nut flush is probably going to call this. The full house is probably going to call it. Maybe even 3 of a kind is going to call us, like a king queen. So I think, maybe the king queen calls. So we beat basically all of these hands. I think that's a pretty good, very polarizing range. We either have it or we don't. And of course, there's going to be very few combos here. So, the don't, hands that we're going to be betting would be like the ace of hearts, queen of spades, hands where we bet because we had the ace blocker, basically the nut flush blocker. Then we picked up the flush draw, the nut flush draw on the turn, and it allowed us to continue. And here, yeah, we picked up top pair, but we blocked the flush. So now we could very easily say, hey, I think by blocking the flush draw, it puts him at under a lot of pressure if he does not have that ace of hearts. So he does call. So what we want to do is go ahead and take a look at this under GTO. So basically standard, I'm going to say early position raise range looks something like this. All right, I have everything programmed, so we're first act. Looks like we are betting most of the time here. I think this board's going to hit us a lot. I think it's going to put pressure on any of the under pairs. If we bet, I think some of these under pairs are going to fold. Some of these other hands are going to be folding. Queen Jack, Queen 10. You've got a lot of ace littles that are calling, or they're folding. I think given our range, we have a lot of kings that we're betting. And it looks like we're going small. So I think our small bet size looks good. We bet small. Villain's going to be calling. He is calling with the flush draw. Sometimes he raises. And I kind of expect that. But you have to remember we do block the kings. I think that would be good if he raises. We're going to probably re-raise. And would probably be happy if we were running against the flush draw. We would have, could possibly lose, but I think that's probably worthwhile. All right, so 2 hearts comes out. Now it's on us. What do? We have ace king here, so you could see with the ace of hearts we can continue betting. That's kind of what I predicted. So let's look over here. We talked about like some of our checks, checking like ace king. This is heads up too, so we were 3-way. So just against heads up, it looks like we're betting. Hands that were not would be hands ace queen, ace jack, ace 10 that all just kind of miss a little bit, and we're not even checking a lot. So we're betting here. We have the ace hearts in here in our range. Heads up, we would. And I kind of like the heads up because if we look at a heads up range, he doesn't have a lot of those. He has a lot of ace X hands. So I think that's why we're betting most of our range is he's missing the board, or he has some sort of weak pair that might continue. All right, so he just calls. Now at this point comes down to, do we bet or check? We're checking most of the time. Since we were betting most of the time, we were betting 85%. We're not going to be betting as often on the turn. We are looking, when we look at our ace king, ace of hearts, we're betting 100% of the time. But then our other ace kings, we do have some check, and I wonder if those are check raises or just check calls. And those are check calls. We're sometimes doing a check call. We do have some of the nut flush that we include just in case. Those are the pocket aces, but we have second nut flushes that we're also checking, probably check calling as well. Quads gets a check, interestingly. Some of the full houses are checked, so we're going to have some raises, a very small percentage, and those are going to be like your eights. You're going to use those as the eights, and then like 8-7, just to balance. So we did check, he bet. Ace king's a call, so it looks like we did okay. And then ace of diamonds comes out, so the question is, what do we do? I guess once we check call, we're basically checking again. I think once we check, I think most players are going to be checking. Now this guy bets. So based on this solve, we're looking at, he's betting full house, he's betting flushes, and then some weak hands. So we're gonna let him bet, and then we're coming over the top with that. So we're playing for a check raise. I'm not thrilled with that. I think once we check call, warning flags should go off, warning bells should go off for this guy, and I think most of the players that I see would likely just check behind and take the showdown. So I actually kind of like my bet here, but we're gonna have to really analyze it. So let's go ahead and go back to our tree. Um, let's make it 33%. We're gonna accept our changes, confirm. We're gonna rerun the solve, and we'll be back. All right, so we've got it. Yeah, we're betting, most of the time here against that range. We bet villain calls. Again, kind of expect a raise coming from some of the three of a kinds and maybe the full houses here. A little bit different solve. So we're gonna go with it. Two hearts comes out. So if we're betting 93%, now we're only betting 32%. And we're looking at the ace king. So again, looks like ace of hearts we're betting. Ace of hearts we're betting, like with ace queen. Queen of hearts we're betting. We've got second nut flush. We're kind of balancing that against at least the ace queens anyways. We have full houses that we're betting. We have made flushes that we're betting. I think it's kind of interesting that we're not betting 100% with like our ace 9. Ace 9, ace 10 are pretty low. And like some of our weaker flushes. So we do have a check. Villain's betting. He should attack, I think. But not all. I think against GTO, we do have some good cards in our checking range. So GTO saying, check those. Showdown value, hands behind. Let's keep the pot small. Let's do more pot control. So he bets, we call. We only have the raise for the full house, so that's still good. And then we have a very small chance of betting, and that includes betting with some of our full houses, eights, those aces, and then again we're betting, like 10-9. So according to GTO, we're betting those ace of hearts, queen of hearts that I thought we could use as a bluff if we did a check call. So what did villain have when he called? He had showed a 3-4, so that means that our range is off here. So he's in position. He played a 3-4, and that means he's probably looking at the suited connectors as well, or the suited one gappers. And that could definitely is going to change some stuff. So we're going to keep it at 33% smaller bet size. Let's adjust this range. If he called with that, maybe the gappers are like this. So that's at 17.8%. Let's do that. Let's rebuild our tree. Actually, let's go back to the turn. What did he bet? I think he bet 2/3. 75%. 4, 8, 12. Yeah, that's about 75%. So we're going to say default bet size in position sizing, 75% pot. We're going to leave ours at 50%, and we're going to adjust. Yeah, we're going to build a new tree. Import. And we are going to change this to 33%. Cut that out. Accept changes, confirm. Let's run the solver and be back. All right, we've got it. So now versus that range, we're basically betting 100%. He's got a lot of hands that miss, that are weak, that are folding. Our range is much stronger. Really has more nut potential, I believe. So we bet he calls. Does have flush draws calling. Has some raises as well. Like raising with some of our nut flushes. Really, ace 2, ace 3, ace 4, ace 5, ace 6. As our kicker improves, looks like it's going down. So he calls. Now we know, we didn't know he had all these heart draws. had all of these hearts in his range. So once we expand it, now we're looking at a hand like this. Bet 100%. We're only betting 31%. We have a lot more checks in our range with the ace king, but it looks like we're betting the ace of hearts. We're betting the nut flush here. So just out of curiosity, if we bet he calls, if we bet he calls, we're still betting our flushes or our nut flushes. Ace jack is a check. Yes, we're still betting our flushes at that point. So we just check here, and villain bets 75, which is what he does. So we did have ace king. You saw that. Oops. We check. He bets. Ace king is a call. So we made the right call here. Looks like quads is a call. Eights is still a raise. So eights full is still a raise. I think we're betting. Yeah, we're betting 100%. So no matter what we check. So ace king is still a call. Ace of diamonds comes out, and then we're betting some of our ace nine. So our nut flushes. We're betting some. Haha. Did we not check raise all of our eights? No, we kept a small percentage back, but yeah, it looks like we're checking here. Probably check raising. If he bets, we're check raising all of those full houses. I'm not sure though if villain's going to be betting, because if he has a flush, he's just going to check behind. And I think we lose a little bit of value. And that's actually what GTO is recommending, is that you're really not betting a whole lot. You're betting your eights full, and you're betting basically your ace little hands, your nut flushes. So I'm not sure. I mean, in terms of the number of combos, we have basically half a combo because we made some raises with the ace king on the turn. So let's go ahead and revise it. So I already updated the Flopzilla. This reflects this guy's range. We know what he called with. So we're going to go, we bet he calls with his flush draws. So we've got that. Two hearts comes out. He bets I don't think he's betting all of his full houses, not for this amount of money. I just think his full houses would be a little bit smaller. Well, let's just do 50% here. The flushes he bet, that's kind of what we assume. I think three of a kind probably bets that large. The flushes, maybe not even all of our flushes. Like the nut flush could have gone smaller. But if he has a nut flush, then he has to be concerned with the king. We'll leave this size. I think we're gonna go with that. So let's update this range. So we're gonna go there. This is the in position player. All right, and for us, we are gonna go to this range. So we checked, he bet, and now let us let's see here. Let me figure this out. All right, so let me show you what I did. we went over here, and we've got all of Villain's turn range, basically what he made his play with on the turn. That I have that into his range, his in position range. And then for me, I had to go back, and what I did was just went ahead and made my early position range here, went to the turn, and basically said, try to go through and say, what hands do I have at this point that would have check called on the turn? So you can see, like, I have the nut flush draw here, uh, which is only basically aces, because I think Ace of Hearts King is betting the turn. I think Ace of Hearts Queen is betting the turn. I think like the Ace Queen of Hearts is betting the turn, and so forth. So I've really just kind of narrowed it down to say, what do I actually have at that point? And it looks something like this, and this kind of mimics what GTO was saying, and I think we're probably about right. This is probably the range. I think check calling, I probably would have check called these hands, queens, jacks, tens, and nines. I think I would have been a little bit more judicious on like sixes and sevens, and probably even nines and tens. Probably only called if I had, the heart to continue with the flush. But then I went ahead and built the tree, and I programmed it to check everything. So let's go through. Went ahead and checked everything. So check the flop, check the turn. So then on the river, we have basically set up different bet sizes here. I know GTO likes us to check, but I think this could be a good spot here, just to donks, kind of mix things up a little bit, and go for a bit of value. So I have that, and then what we're gonna do is go ahead and run the solver, and then we'll be back. All right, it didn't take long. That tree wasn't quite right because I didn't update the pot size, but I've got it now. So we go check check, two hearts comes out, then ace of diamonds. So now it's on us. What do we do? Still looks like we're checking most of the time. That's what GTO wants. However, we do have some of the ace king. We do have bets with some of the ace king, and I think that's a pretty good bet. Once we get here, so we're betting 15% of the time, and the question is what sizing is favored. So I've got the 50%, 100%, 150, and then 200, which is all in. And it looks like we are going, large or small. So it looks like if we have the ace of hearts, we're going smaller. And I think that's no big surprise. If we block the nut flush, we're going to bet smaller and try to encourage more calls. If we don't have it, I think we make this 200, this all in, which is correct here, because villain could have the nut flush himself. So it looks like our bet sizing was pretty good, and we're looking at trying to target those hands, the nut flush hands. Villain should have folded. I guess he didn't. I guess he doesn't believe that I have those hands, but we do have the note that does he call down with any pair? So there is some suspicion that he is going to be calling. She's just not going to believe us. So I think it works out. I think we made the right play on the end. Definitely, we bet he called, so I took it. I doubled up, which is great. Feels good. So hopefully you enjoy this hand. Hopefully I'll get to review another hand tomorrow.